Mhm. Let's see if this is showing up. Huh, this is odd. Okay, can you guys hear me? Hmm, can you guys hear me? Yes. All right, I think we got it. Let me just see, it's been so long. Hi, Sharon. Thank you for actually showing up. I had to change the time so much. I'm tired. Thank you. Had forgotten. I'm rusty, Sharon. I'm rusty. Um, I went and pulled all my stitches out. I don't know how, but, eh, I've been trying to be very still. Hey, Beverly. That's right. Happy birthday to everyone. If you're having a birthday, don't wanna miss that, and big hugs to all you, we're now in the month of December, and my brother's birthday is in 4 days, Sagittarius season. Hey, Ron, unconditional love. Hey, Lori, Pisces greeter. TK, it's really good to see you guys. I don't know how long I will be on for, to tell you the truth, because I just found this just before I went on, of course, that I have pulled stitches that not the greatest, not what I wanted. So, anyway, I have been chomping at the bit in wanting to be able to come on live and just talk to you guys and connect, and so here I am. It's taken me a while. It gets so dark now, you guys, at, like, 8 o'clock here, and hey, Diana. I'm, Pacific time zone, so I'm way out west, and but by the time it's 8 o'clock here, it is pitch black, and I mean, it feels like 1 AM. It's, like, deep black. And I am just with this healing. I've got the 3 wounds, 1 I've just pulled stitches, uh, and I've just been very, very tired, but when it gets that, wintertime gets dark so quickly, like 4:30. Hey, Isadora. Um, I just man, I cannot keep my eyes open, and that's why I thought, "I'm gonna have to not do it at night because there's no way I'm gonna last till, 8 o'clock when it gets that dark." Yes, please do put a thumbs up if you haven't. Thank you, Beverly. I really do appreciate it. I want to also be able to tell all of you, thank you so much for your continued prayers and positive thoughts because they really do. They really do help people, and, I know that you those prayers keep me floating, you know, throughout this all, so I really, really appreciate it, and, I wanna thank you for that. And of course, it has to just you get older and you just fall apart. Well, hopefully not, you know? So all you younger folks out there, if you watch this, please, 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 don't don't, you know, overexert yourself and let your out of, just gonna rebound all the time. Be thoughtful because 'cause you'll feel it later. Oh god. Alright, snippy snip snip. I am going to be looking at, a case. I'm sorry, I didn't write down the viewer's name. One of these days, I might get it together. I don't know, I'm trying. Um, but they asked me, you know who you are out there, and feel free to, uh, if you're in the audience or if you come across this later, to Yeah, I use screws to hold me together. I hear you, Ron, I hear you. Um, feel free to give a shout out. "It was me, I asked for this." So we're gonna be looking at of an interesting, case. So if you have a deck of cards that you like to use for mysteries or crimes or anything like that, why don't you grab them? Take a moment and grab them and join me if you want to, and let's throw cards on the case of, uh, out of 1931, y'all, 1931, 8 years before my father was born, and this takes place in Monticello, forgive me if I'm not pronouncing things correctly, Indiana. Indiana, and the lady's name that we're gonna be looking at is a missing person, and it's a very interesting case out of Indiana from March 4th, 1931 of opalfulks, and her name is spelled Fulks, in case you want to, Google it later and delve a bit more that you can, and it is pretty limited, 'cause it is, from 1931, and the documented aspect of it is very limited case. Now, she had just given birth, to her youngest child. She was a mother, she was married, a young lady, and, she had other children, little children, but this was her youngest that she gives birth to, which, um, was around March 4th, 1931, and she disappears. She ends up just disappearing, and there's no, like, "Oh, she was doing this, that, or the other." It's just, she disappears. So, her birthday, she is a or was, I think she's still a Cancer? July 17th, 1908 was her birth date, and just for you to picture in your mind, she was about 22 years of age. Her picture's on the thumbnail when she went missing, and she was tiny. She was, like, 5 foot tall, probably about 100 pounds, and this is, again, the case of Opal Fulks, and it's from March 4th, 1931, I wanna say Monticello, but it's, Indiana. If I don't pronounce it right, correct me, uh, gently. Um, so from what I could gather, um, there seemed to be some sense that she had a number of small children, and she was only 22 years old, and I don't know about you, but I mean, I got married when I was 22, but I was still and I was ready for it, to be honest, but I was still your energy is very oh, to have that energy again. Um, but, there's just certain things in state of mind that you haven't quite "Hey, Kath, 11, it's nice to see you." That haven't kinda settled, there's so much that changes every decade that is very interesting in human beings, the difference between, for instance, 40, 50, 50 and 60, which I'm closer to 60, so it's interesting to see how we change and well, being that married at 22, and that's when she went missing, and she already had a number of small children besides her youngest daughter, who, by the way, was named Barbara Annette Folks, and she passed away, the daughter that she gave birth to in 2000 at the age of 68 years of age. So, her husband, A Opal's husband now, not the daughter, we're gonna go back to her. Her husband's name was George Emer Emer Emerly Folks. Boy, these names are killing me. And his birthday was January 1st, 1908. I always like to have that birth date information so I can sometimes, like, try to verify by the card. A lot of times it's on point, but not always. Um, and he died in Minnesota at the age of 51. Oh, for some reason, I didn't write that down, what year it was, but he ended up remarrying, um, I believe, but I'm not sure. Now he and Opal married, in July 25th, 1926, so she wasn't married very long, you know, 1931, she disappears. And George, was it George? Yeah, George ends up remarrying to another lady in 1942 by the name of Hannah L. Connell. So, oh, my sound is fading in and out? Dang. You know what? Let me try moving this microphone closer, and do pardon any unwanted noise. Alright, let me just also let me know how the sound oh, thank you. Let me know how the sound is. Let me know, let me know if it's playing up or not. Thank you. Alright, so let me just get back to that. I'll recap just in case. And if the sound's still giving me a problem, please say, "Maya, your sound is not, is acting up." Alrighty. So to recap, George ends up remarrying in 1942 to a Hannah L. Connell. Good. Thank you, Diana. I pulled the mic closer and I increased its setting to the highest. Okay, let's see. And I've got a good booming voice. I'll just project as well. Um, so it was very strange. They aren't married very long. I think she already had like two or three other children when she gave birth, at least maybe a couple of older children when she gave birth in March 4th, 1931. And I guess that's when she left, was the birth date of her daughter. Don't forget, sometimes people, like, tended to give birth at home. Like, my dad, for example, uh, grew up in Nebraska. Oh, thank you. Ha! Thank you, Raquel. Um, and he was born on the kitchen table. He was a 10-pound baby, and my grandmother was little like me, a 5 foot nothing and, 100 pounds probably, wringing wet. But, so sh in all probability, I'm guessing that Opal, whose case that we're is the one I'm looking at, as a missing person from 1931 out of Indiana. Um, I'm guessing that she herself, with about like the size of 5 she was 5 foot and 100 pounds, teeny tiny. It looks like she got it out of there pretty quickly, um, after the birth of her daughter. Just to kinda recap and give you some background story, 'cause this is about all I could gather, and it really kinda went a little old school. I had to literally look at and read this really old newspaper, and you can see it online yourself if you Google her name, um, write-up that was all the font was all, and I'm getting older now, my eyes are not the greatest, but, literally old school news typing print. reading about whatever I can gather, um, as basics. You know, you do need context with cards. Otherwise, it's an even greater sometimes question that you can have and anyway, so let me just get a sip of my coffee. Talk amongst yourselves. Oh, I have to lay on to one side, so I'll do my best. See if I can bring this in a little closer. Alright, now, just to recap, I took notes, and my hair is longer, it's just that um, it's kinda stuck back here, kinda shaggy, but there you go. Alright, 'cause, you know, hair's important. Gotta keep the levity with some humor. Alright, so I went ahead and I used a specific kind of a crime deck that you can order off Etsy. One of those that, you know, you look through and you go, "Oh, this one's for crime, let's see how it was." And, the notes I took indicate that, the cards that came up were, the card intimacy, and the second one, truth, and the third was hung up/obsessed. Slash obsessed. So, those cards made me feel like there was, uh, definitely some kind of an affair going on someone's behalf, and, um, I felt like it was a just from reading that she had all those kids so young, married, and, you know, you can that kind of amount of responsibility and postpartum, uh, issues, and she was already having kids, could really set your mind in a different place, you know? So, I think already things weren't going well in that marriage, it's kind of felt like. And that, you know, was just intuitively. So these cards made sense to me, and it to me felt like they were indicating she was having some kind of a fling. Again, the cards were intimacy, truth, and obsession, being hung up, you know, really stuck, and that made sense. It really gave me that kind of a feeling that she was uptight, you know, with this, and that would make sense when somebody feeling that way would leave. Oh, and a card of sensuality, so it was all very highly sex based, and I'm presuming this relationship could have been suddenly found out, um, or discovered. I also feel like from the amount of tension in those cards, that I think she tried to stay, but, I mean, I can't understand it as a mom. I really can't, that how you could just have a baby and then just up and leave, but I do know that there are people that do get postpartum depression, and that's exactly what they wanna do. They, can be freaked out by it, you know? They may n feel overwhelmed. I mean, I certainly felt overwhelmed, but, um these people, as we know, that get postpartum, and I'm guessing she probably had that, but I'm guessing she also it feels like this relationship wasn't maybe brand new. I'm not sure. It doesn't really matter. Whoever this person was that I feel I picked up in the cards, um, I felt like it wasn't her husband, I felt like it was her, and that would make a lot more sense to me, even though I struggle with people that, um just abandon their children as a mother. But then again, I also know what it's like to feel depression, and I can imagine oops, sorry about that. I can imagine when you get postpartum, how it might feel, unfortunately, like you want to have nothing to do with it. And who's to say that didn't happen, you know? I'm looking for my lipstick that I set aside here. I thought I was really smart. I always do this, you guys. I always, always, always. Oh, I'll find it later. So I'm gonna pull another set of cards after I finish the notes that I've read to you of what I got initially, because that was pretty, the energy was heavy, you know, very heavy. And, I was kinda thinking maybe this was a case of, like, the husband lost it and, she ended up in a, you know, kind of a domestic situation. But the energy that I got was very interesting, and, um, just goes to show why sometimes you always gotta, not sometimes, but always, you gotta pull your own expectations somewhat in check and be open because as I was saying, it's just so often the male partner is, responsible for something, especially where there's children being born, many times in criminal activity. Um, we all are aware of that, unfortunately, and I was thinking, "Oh, it's probably, something like that," because so many are that I read on. But this case gave me a completely different feel. So I'm gonna carry on. We get this intense, um, card of very sensual, connection with another and feeling truth amid all these cards of hung up and intimacy and sensuality also made me feel like there was a communication that she may have felt with this individual, that she didn't maybe feel happening with her husband. Truth, can make one feel more at ease, and I think the truth card came up because it was also in telling me the truth that here's the truth. Lot of intimacy, there's a relationship. This is her leaving is based on a relationship, or her rather disappearance, shall we say, is based upon a relationship of intimate nature, heavy duty, very sensual, as I said, and this a really intense emotional bond created a very strong pull in her choice, I feel like, to abandon the kids and her husband for I feel like to run around with this man, I felt. So, like I was saying, there's then I get a card of masculine energy, and on the card, I don't have the deck right at hand. I had to move some things around, sorry. Um, it had a man, very masculine, buffed out person that works out, like, doing a pull-up. So we get this really macho energy. And then it, combined with all those cards that speak of a sensual relationship, um, it felt like a very chemically hot reaction between her and someone else. Then she got the cards of active and wounded, past baggage, and haunted past trauma. And I felt again like, yes, Diana, exactly. Like, this was a young lady that I think her early adult choices, in getting married, having kids was a bit premature for her. She's one of these people that needed more time, and I feel like not a case of where a husband, let's say, uh, takes out, shall we say, for YouTube's words, um, their spouse, their wife, and often, as we know, many times women that have just had children or are about to have them, there's stuff that can happen, unfortunately. So, it was very, very interesting to not only get these cards, but the way that they fell out. There was no sometimes with some readings, there's just, like, a lot of patchiness, but this was just like that, and literally unfolding a story and the cards synchronicity. So, it indicated, again, active. And that to me is her definitely feeling this tension of like, "I gotta get out of here." It's almost palpable to me. It's almost palpable. And then something triggered something within her from her past, her own past. Um, it the cards past baggage and being, wounded and haunted, and then the cards of running and escape gave me more dimension into the feeling of why she may have ran. I think something with having that child triggered a trauma in her past, and the trauma was strong enough, and this man was I think she was just at a prime storm, if you will, for things like this to happen. She meets this guy she's deeply attracted to, obsessed with even. We get the cards of her having an obsessive nature. Um, and yet we have the cards of wounded and past baggage and haunted even by the past. And then the cards of running and escape. She also got the cards of avoiding, which makes sense. She's avoiding responsibility. She's avoiding the marriage. She's avoiding her husband and those children that she already had and the one she just had. That makes so much sense. It's just so uncanny sometimes, readings that you can get that are just sizzling, and this was one of them, and I didn't like I said, I really didn't anticipate it to be so. Um, and then she got, closure and finality and confusion and mixed signals. This was just wild. "Hey, JR, we're doing the what turns out to be basically a runaway mom, so, if you're just hopping in, don't worry, this should be recorded, and you can play it back, but this is originally a missing persons case, and it was a very interesting experience as a reader to have a reading that threw me for a wrench, but in an interesting way, in a totally new way. It really took me out of my staleness of, like, so many cases having a similar kind of a structure to them, a pattern that you see, again and again, and so this one really did. I suspected that maybe there was some kind of domestic violence going on, but the first cards that I received were about her meeting someone else that she had a super infatuated chemistry with, and, wants to get out of her marriage, leave the children. She feels trapped and triggered, and so she literally gets cards where I left off, of running and escape and avoiding closure and finality. She got it. movement that seemed to shift, where the energy shifts again, and it goes to confusion and mixed signals, deceived, played, taken advantage of, and another card that said, deep soul connection. So it sounds like it's soured. It sounds like it's soured, and I can understand how when you're that young and you're can you imagine all those hormones that she already had surging through her from pregnancy, and then the drop that gets hit after you give birth, and I feel like this relationship was maybe going on prior to her pregnancy. Um, just a feeling, like, I don't feel like necessarily and that's something that I'll be looking at with the cards. Um, how long I'm just kinda curious, how long was she seeing someone else, before she left? And what happened to her, what's her story? I really felt like this was her story and that she was kind of giving me the cards of what happened, guided by High, of course. Um, but it was amazing, like I've said, just how these cards just made such sense. So she gets to a point then where the energy unfortunately shifts for her out of this, very revved up, running off in love, and, uh, her I'm trying to think of the right phrasing. Her adrenaline must have just been nuts, must have just been crazy. The tension I feel is really unpleasant, and it looks like it kinda comes she feels like she's been deceived, taken advantage of. Maybe she didn't make such a good choice in lovers, um, because it doesn't look like it, as I said, worked out, and she actually ends up feeling confused. I mean, maybe he said to her, "Oh, I can't live with you. I can't go with you." And she may have been confused and wondering why she's left, and she's already left. She could, but I don't she never did return home. Never did. At least nothing that was recorded or shared. So then I wondered, well, I wonder how long Opal lived. And as far as I know, there's no record of her death, so that I could find, but I might give it a go again later. I'm curious how long she lived. And as I said, her husband, what I could find, remarried. She left him in 1931, and he ended up remarrying in 1942, and they may have had, even a few more children with that wife, Hannah. So, he went on with his business, but there was no I couldn't find anything that says that she resurfaced in the children's lives or anything like that. In fact, it really made me feel between what I found and what I didn't find and the cards that came up for her that, you know, she didn't end up returning home, quote unquote, with her husband and her children. And as I said, there was some misunderstanding apparently that she had encountered with this individual that she's so obsessed with. There is the card of confusion and Mixed signals. That means maybe he was promising her or they, whoever it was, um, more than they were intent or able to deliver. That doesn't surprise me either. Very often, this fantasy relationship can be so hot and heavy because that's exactly what it is. It isn't based in reality. So it looks like the balloon popped and she was left holding the bag and left on the short end of the stick, as they say. She definitely deceived, taken advantage of in a very deep and heavy way, and that she had probably in all likelihood a very strong karmic tie with this individual from what I got with this soul connection. Then interestingly enough, there are cards that show that she's living in the past. The card of past and memories comes up, and dwelling, like the type of not like a home where you live, but like dwelling on issues. So again, there's again this energy of kind of the obsessive mind, uh, that I picked up on for Opal. I've never had I mm, not never, but I rarely have sometimes this kind of a such a really succinct, strong, clear, consecutive bit of information. You know, there's every so often you'll get, something you're reading on where it's just amazing, and this is one of those kinda like, "Wow, this is so clear." And so it shows her, I feel like, aging and living tendency to live in the past. And there's also, interestingly enough, some of the final cards that I pulled out for her after that, of living in the past and really dwelling on things, not being present. Part of her problem was wanting to escape and not being present, in her marriage, for her, children, and thinking ahead and realizing that, maybe she didn't wanna stay with this guy, but what she was doing to herself, especially at that time, 1931, um, trying to get a job as a woman, a young woman is oh my god. Anyway, ugh, it not surprisingly didn't turn out so well for her, the cards that came up. It really shows that she felt guilty, that she felt she made a mistake, and she also had a card of shame, personal shame about it. Um, the last 2 cards I got for her are missed opportunity and reaching out. So that was very, very interesting, and I felt that over time, she realized that she hadn't made the best choice, and she regretted it, but she didn't try to come back into their lives. I think she just felt she had really severed that tie. It shows her also as someone that unfortunately was dealing with a lot of emotional instability, and, back in 1931, there wasn't a great deal of treatment for mental illness, and especially if she was, undergoing postpartum, psychosis or depression, disconnection of some kind, and as I suspect she was. And that's what I got for her. If you guys did pull some cards, cards, I said cars, ugh, for Opal Fulks, Fulks, that disappeared March 4th, 1931. feel free and let me know what you get. I'm gonna take mine now, and I am going to look at and see what I get on her. Just using the typical Rider-Waite deck, not the crime deck that I had used that I got off Etsy. And I think that one was called The Mysteries of a Lover's Journey, which I use it just in general because it's, not necessarily on a love case, because it's just got simple cards like mourning, like grieving or, that kind of thing, like for a clarifier. So, I wanna focus, and if you haven't done yet, let's take another look at Opal. What I did initially was give you the first reading that I did on her, where I took notes off camera. So, I am going to look and see what I get with a typical Rider-Waite deck for her case, and just see if it marries up or adds any other dimension to what we now already have. And as I said, if you happen to be using your cards, and if you're not, that's fine, but if you are, let me know what you get on her disappearance, on her, missing. And again, her first name is Opal. What do we need, I ask the Most High, to know about the case of missing Opal Fulks from 1931 out of Indiana? What does the Most High feel it would be important to know? Okay, let's see what I get, and I'll hold it up to the camera as best I can. Alright, this deck is a borderless, Rider-Waite deck, and I think it's called, not Radiant, but it could be Radiant, but it's like a Rider-Waite deck, and I like the colors in it the best. Okay, so the first card, oh, wow, that we're getting is the Devil. Well, the Devil deals with temptation, so that certainly could be the situation she was in, and also the situation of being married, frankly, the obligation felt oppressive to her. Maybe he was not the greatest husband. Maybe maybe they just didn't have the chemistry. No worries. No worries, Comfort at the Crossroads. It's nice to have you, and all who are coming in. Don't worry. It's so great to have you come in. So, it's interesting. Snap. We're going right back into that same energy. And as I read in pairs, I'm gonna hold them up in pairs. First 2 cards are the Devil and the 7 of Pentacles. Plans. Something was being tended to, and I think that she made plans to leave. I think there was some effort or thought put in it toward a goal. Maybe after she had the baby, she was gonna leave, 'cause that's what happened, you know, and that there's 7 here. There's 7 pentacles. Maybe that's, months that she was at before she, as she was making the plan, you know? Who knows? Just always something to think about when you're looking at cards and to consider the numbers as well. Yeah, it helps if I hold the cards up, huh? So, and I think that more than likely the person that she was connected to definitely uh, I don't think was interested in, anything serious. This was all to their convenience, and when it was no longer to their convenience and she, I think, wanted them to join her, maybe leave their significant other for all I know, we're shown this person, I feel like, let her know and that that wasn't it, because she ends up feeling confused from my earlier reading. So let's see what we get here. This so far makes me look like this there was temptation going on, um, really wanted to leave her spouse and her home life, but I also think the situation she was in, Opal, was not great either because she's jumping, as they say, from the frying pan into the fire. Yeah, this is sneaking off with the 7 of swords, trying to be stealthy, and the 5 of swords. He This could have been an abusive situation, and she may have felt that she had to sneak off because especially if someone is the type to feel like they have to have complete control or they gotta they gotta always win, someone might have to be a little more stealthy to run away, 'cause that means they're paying attention, you know? So with the card of planning with the 7 of Pentacles along with the 7, no, and we're also seeing, something to else to check out, the repeat of the number 7. So this just right from the get-go, looks like it's just gonna be trouble. Let's see if y'all can see that. So I think there's temptation, very heavy sexual vibe, chemistry, but I think this person is a deceiver and just used her, and she's by the time she's left, she can't go back. Okay, so we're shown that this was planned. We have the Knight of Cups and the Moon. So this looks certainly clandestine. This is like maybe even sneaking out at night, literally. And this was secretive, but I also feel too that she may have offered to this person to that they went away together. This person may have led her to believe, oops, things that were not they weren't gonna do, like run away with her or whatever, just to get her to continue to see them and have an intimate relationship. Um, and this looks like she just is moving straight into shade, the shade of the moon card, uncertainty. So that also, uh, goes along with confusion, because the moon card also carries a confused energy at times. There's definitely an uncertainty, y there's a vagueness. So this one's here out of this deck, and I am getting, interestingly enough, the 9 of Wands and the Chariot. We get movement with the Chariot. We also get boundary issues and having endured abuse potentially as well with that 9 of Wands. Um, Somebody could have been physical with her. Often when I get the 9 of Wands in relationships, there is some kind of verbal and physical, often, abuse. It's a card where, somebody's head is affected, sometimes literally. And I did get other cards that showed that she doesn't seem to Opal didn't seem to be perhaps in the most stable, um, space mentally, and she already had a more than one small child before she had this last child, so it makes me wonder about her hormonal levels, and in 1931, yikes, you didn't have a great variety of options there, which is, just a shame, and I just think she left, literally left with the chariot and went out. The chariot also does denote, success and an effort, you are directing yourself. So, I'm shown abuse, I'm shown someone that's trying to stand up for themselves and overcome and move on, literally. Literally. Yep, it's the right one. Uh, the 5 of Pentacles is decline, and that can be a decline not only, I'm sure, of money and finances, especially if you thought, you were gonna have a partner, you know, join you, and she gets the of Swords. That's pretty harsh. This is like swiftly s being homeless, you know, um, being without proper shelter, and sometimes even if you have that, it can be that, you've got something going on, sometimes some kind of illness or getting sick. It's definitely where you're mentally and physically not at your greatest. You are in a place where you're it's slid and it's sliding quickly. So here's the card of Fam with 10 of Cups, and we get the Knight of Wands. Could this be there's a very passionate feeling with that Knight of Wands. I feel like I'm wanting to travel and see family, maybe extended relations. I wonder if Opal didn't at some point get a bit homesick and go back to her family or members of her own family, maybe outside of immediate family, 'cause it feels extended. Let's see what else we get. We get the Knight of Pentacles and the Father, the husband card of the Emperor. This is a very steady man, a hardworking man, and a man that is stubborn, who, as I'm saying, is a pretty steady Teddy. They are very focused. So if she was not very focused, if she was and her energy was very tense, very high strung, um, she may have gone toward back to a family member that's an older man, if it's not her own father, maybe like a grandfather, something like that, or an uncle even, and because they have support. Interesting how we got the 5 of Pentacles earlier, where it shows her financial situation and her health situation sli it is in decline, and then we get a card of an older and that which makes sense, possibly in her family, man who has more resources and is very, level-headed. So, Oh, hang on a second. Okay. So this feels like dad. This feels like or grandpa, you know, there to help. Maybe she's even asking to wire her money to get back to them. She can come and stay with them. And we get the Queen of Pentacles. Ooh, and the Tower. Could this be a mother? It is a very maternal card. Could it be pregnancy again? It's just looking at the way the queen is holding the pentacle, I got just a flash of baby bump. I think she was. The tower means that would be completely disruptive and is a reset button. Wow. This is very interesting. Interesting to think about. We get the card here of choices, possibly kind of a dreamer's card with the 7 of cups and a king of cups. I think this is knowing that this man is all based on fantasy. I think this is probably the man she was seeing that I got with the first reading. And as the king of cups, that wouldn't surprise me. Pretty sensual, um, fantasy, and there could have been some drinking going on here. There could have been some kind of altering of the mind, and maybe he represented a good time to her of more having more freedom, which is certainly must have been like night and day between having a number of small children and a husband and a home to look after compared to a man that doesn't have children that they look after. This man certainly wasn't looking after any children. It was just playing in fantasy. I cannot help but feel this is, as I said, the lover, shall we say. Now the cards we got before that struck me as a pregnant woman. Now, if that's not Opal, maybe it's his partner, his wife. Often, um, I see certain, like cups and pentacle, king and queens together, uh, you know, it's like a couple energy, if you get what I mean. So that makes me feel like, did she get pregnant by this lover again and have to call a grandfather or her father or her husband maybe? She even called him. I don't know. I kind of think maybe no. It seems like she felt because the cards that I got early on, though, were abused. Maybe she did. Maybe I don't know, but it looks like she was pregnant with someone else's child. Hi, Lori. No problem. I hope that you're having, I hope it's a beautiful day there or early evening there in Texas. I know that we'll have probably about half an hour, bit more of sunlight, and then it'll just be black here, and I mean dark, dark black sky at night. So we've got one hell of a story that is coming out with these cards, and I'm just stunned. So let me know, share your thoughts too, if what you think about this. So then it looks to me like she gets perhaps pregnant, and this is something that happens out of the blue. This could also be him leaving, fantasies or whatever. There's something unanticipated that really upsets her apple cart, and I tend to feel with this card, and she's not an earth sign, so it makes me feel like, was she pregnant? I think she was pregnant, but this time by someone else when she tried to go back to family. I get a king. Very interesting. I get a king of swords and the Hierophant. Was this a man that she married? And and if they were, I don't know that they would necessarily have been the father of the child that she may have been pregnant with. This could also be seeing someone like a priest, to confide in. I mean, we did get cards of, feeling deceived and taken advantage of, and guilt, cards of guilt, mistake, shame. So this could also be in reference to if she was Catholic, seeing a priest for confession, something along those lines. Could also mean that she got married. This is often a marriage card. This is definitely some card that describes somebody as being old school as well. It's traditional. So when we're getting cards dealing with what looks like to me possibly a child that's out of wedlock back then, I think she got herself it makes a lot of sense. She got painted herself into a corner. Quite, I think, unfortunately, the men didn't care. They certainly helped her do it. Ooh, cold snap down to 35 in Texas. Ooh, that's bone chilling cold. Well, this is interesting. And she Opal gets then this card of strength and the Ace of Cups. Maybe she has the child, and it helps her to settle down a little bit. There is this energy that's, overflowing, but we also have strength, and that can be enduring tough situations with care, with more maturity, with more thought. So I think she could have at some point found herself pregnant again, and maybe not very long after she left. That can happen with women. Um, and contacted family. We get this is interesting. We get the Empress card and the Four of Pentacles. Now, if you notice, there's a bit of a with the 4 of Pentacles, there's a bit of a control with the way they're holding it. Well, the figure in the Strength card is also holding the lion firmly, but not too hard, right? So there's an energy here now where motherhood, or maybe even her own mother, it feels like there's security, there's being safe, there is wanting to have stability and enough also. And this card speaks of it's either someone that's very careful with their money, um, or downright stingy with it, but regardless, there's abundance. So that's very interesting. The cards of pregnancy and this maternal energy and the cost and the needs, this it's crazy how it's lining up. Then she gets the card of the 9 of Cups and the 2 of Wands, and where she maybe began to stabilize a bit and ahead, look ahead. I really feel like she matured in some way and is becomes more satisfied where she's not trying to run out of away from her child and from responsibility. It's just something I pick up on there. Huh. Card of the past, which is the 6 of cups. It's also the card of children. Did I say that? Yes. Again, oh, wow. And the 7 of swords. I think she ends up somehow being fortunate enough, despite the mistake that she made, to, move on out of a troubled spot in life into a better, more stable, and secure outcome for her literal child, and I do think she got pregnant again afterward, but maybe a family member took her in and helped her out, and it looks like she settled down and kinda wised up, and maybe her hormones also didn't work against her, and it looks like things went a lot smoother, you know? She may have even moved further away or even out from the area, um, from wherever she had been, or moved back for all I know. Usually it's moving further out, but definitely the idea is of moving away from turbulence itself and going toward a place where you can unpack your baggage and begin to sort yourself out and become more mature. So it feels like her life became more stabilized. It's so interesting that we get cards, or that I did get cards earlier of in the off the camera reading of, instability. You know, it shows her in decline. Well, no, actually in this reading as well with the 5 of Pentacles. So, what do you guys think about that? This is helping other people out. There's a new energy with the Ace of Wands, a new drive, a new passion, enthusiasm. She may have become, wherever she was, somebody that took compassion upon others in a hard place. And given the Great Depression, maybe that's what she was doing of helping people, because that would have been coming, in that time frame after 1931 when she left. I'll probably stop right here. With the King of Wands, there is a card of truce or a block potentially. I can't help myself. I'll pull a few more, but these would be the last 2. Uh, looking further into the future. Yeah, and it's interesting that she had got the 2 earlier, and now she would get the 3 where she's becoming more and more stable and able to put herself out for opportunity more as she aged, and it looks like she actually, as I said, may have become a very charitable person and somebody that liked to really help people. Wild. The Star and the Hermit. So she's famous in a way for being missing. And I don't think she ever came forward and said, "Here I am, I'm here." I think she just went on and lived a life wherever. But I still would like to see if I can find a death record for her. I'm sure that if there had been, then there wouldn't be this mystery, right? So maybe she changed her name or took on an assumed name. Probably wouldn't have been too difficult back then, but that's what I'm getting for her. Okay, just making sure that everything's still lined up. Alright, I'm going to look at some other things now, and I really hope that for the person that asked for this case of Opal, Folks, F-L-U-K-S, from Indiana, 1931. I really hope that this was helpful. I thought it was very interesting, and, it made sense with the cards, and I'm glad to see that hopefully it was true and bore out that she was able to become more stable and enjoy her life and make a difference for other people. All right. Let's see, how long are we into this? This site, I really don't care for this software here. 357. Okay, we're still good. I'm still doing good. All right. Let's just take a look at some other issues. I wrote down some things I wanted to look at. Let me just get to that. Now that I've got the camera on, I've got to make use. Okay, here we go. There's another case that I wanted to look at, and this is more modern day. In fact, I'm gonna have to look at the date exactly, and then I'm gonna look at Trump, Biden, and Putin. All right. So firstly, I am looking up, okay, the date that this lady went missing. Her name is Chelsea Grim. I believe that's how she's pronouncing it. Okay, let's see here. Last bit was November 16th, News Nation article. She was traveling with her pet bearded dragon. She was last seen in Arizona where she was planning to camp. She was on a cross-country road trip when she vanished. I really don't like the feeling just right now. And that's I'm what me reading to you is like news to me that I haven't really ever even read on her case yet. So again, this is on Chelsea Grim. Okay. I'm gonna start shuffling these cards. What was the date? Let me get that back. What date did she go missing? That's the one thing I didn't get. All right. So it was 2 months before that would have been September. She was missing sometime in September. I hate it when they do. 2 months after, Chelsea Grim embarked, and again, this was in November, November 16th, uh, 2 months after Chelsea Grim embarked across on a cross-country adventure, her family has no idea what happened to the artist and photographer who disappeared after saying she changed her mind and was planning on returning home. She was 32 years old. She was, left San Diego on September 24th and was headed to a wedding in Connecticut, okay? And she was a photographer, I'm sorry for any background noise, an artist. Just gonna ask my husband if he'll turn on the overhead lights over here because we're already getting dark. Thank you. Here we go. Thanks. That's much better. And so this was a 2,800-mile road trip, and she was planning to document it in photos because she's a photographer and an artist. And her father said this was a spontaneous adventure, and that was pretty much on par for his daughter, apparently. She's a spontaneous, adventuresome type of person who changed her plans a lot. Stephen Grimm, her father said. The magnitude of this adventure of driving across country, though, was a lot for even her. Okay, so again, this is Chelsea Grimm. Should look up her birthday. Okay. So she was headed to a wedding in Connecticut, and she was, going to fly originally. I wish she would've, but decided to accommodate her new pet bearded dragon, Roz, by driving. 3 days into this trip, her parents said that she called them and said she didn't think she could do the trip by herself, and she planned to camp for a few days instead of returning home. She arrived in Phoenix, Arizona, where she met with her sister and a friend, and Chelsea was supposed to meet the same friend for lunch the following day, but canceled her plans, heading to Williams, Arizona to camp instead. Okay. Chelsea was stopped by a police officer, and that footage is available because that is what I did see. That is the one thing I did see on YouTube. You can check it out, search for it, Chelsea Grimm, um, police officer, and the body cam footage shows her having a conversation with the officer who asks if she was doing okay, and 'cause she was crying, and she said that, she had just finished doing a photo shoot of the lost soldiers. And this was some kind of a memorial, I think, there for veterans, and got a little emotional, she said, so she was crying before she got back on the road a bit. But this has made a lot of people feel that that wasn't really what she was upset about, and it turns out that she had actually also just broken, up with her boyfriend at the time, whom I read was someone that she was a bit afraid of. So, um, there's that. Now, Chelsea assured the officer she didn't plan to stay in this spot where she was pulled over, and there until sunset, and, that she would leave because that's when, people have to leave the area. The officer replied that she could stay, well, however long she wanted and was good to go. So, officer must have seen her and was wanting to check on her. Something must have made that officer curious. Maybe they saw her crying or something. Now, her parents said Chelsea's response seemed in character. One thing that seemed very in the ordinary or very in character was how she said, "I appreciate your compassion," or something like that. That sounded 110% like Chelsea, her father said. During the stop, the officer suggested some safe places where Chelsea could camp for the night, and she was seen again by a woodcutter on September 30th, camping in her car near Ash Fork, Arizona. Chelsea told her parents she might not have cell service while she was camping, but when they didn't hear from her for several days, they reported her missing October 4th, 2023. A few days later, so that would have been about October 6th, her white Ford Focus SUV was found abandoned along the side of a road with 2 flat tires. She seemed to have left the car of her own volition and in an organized manner. It was locked. She had taken her wallet, her phone, her sleeping bag, among other things, and also, of course, Rose, the bearded dragon that she had just gotten. Authorities notified, police in other states to be on the lookout for Chelsea. Her parents have also hired a private investigator by the name of Kelly Townsend. There were 2 flat tires. It was out on a dirt road. How far was the body cam video from where she talked to the police to where the car was found? Did somebody interact with her and then they drove down that road? Townsend said. So this is the private eye. Her parents told News Nation they were hanging on the hope that someone will recognize Chelsea and her pet bearded dragon. The chances of people recognizing Chelsea and sort of connecting the dots, if they see somebody with a bearded dragon, they're going to take an extra look at that person, Chelsea's mother, Janet Prim said. All right, so that's it on that. Let's take a look and see what happened and if she'll be found soon. Again, her name is Chelsea Prim. I'm gonna look up her birth date. Lori Gilbert says, "I'm on a ground adventure by myself and 2 Jack Russells between 35 states already and came south for the winter. I haven't felt worried, uh, about being alone yet." Good. Just be watchful, enjoy yourself, but stay alert, you know? So she's in Arizona, and her car's found on a dirt doesn't say what dirt road, whatever, just on a dirt road with 2 flat tires, and in an area that's known not for receiving good air service, bars. Okay. Oh, March of 1996 probably is her. Um, alright, the young lady, 27 years old, and it's Connecticut, Greenwich. So we have a birth date this year. She went missing this year, JR, just in September, I think, of this year in Arizona. Let me just add I'll drop a link in here so you guys can look too. Okay, Chelsea Grimm. She's been missing for, mm, going on going on 3 months. Alright. Oh, maybe it wasn't her. That one I looked at because okay, this one says she was 33. Alright, anyway, I might have gotten something crossed. That one makes more sense. So she did the cross country trip. Okay, it says that she was spotted disoriented at a, Arizona. Let me just make sure I got this right. That looks like the right person who vanished during cross-country trip appeared disoriented at an Arizona hotel earlier this month, according to a witness. They described her as looking confused after she called her parents about, abandoning the cross-country trip to a Connecticut wedding and returning to California instead. Okay, I was a little confused there. Okay, so on the September 27th, she called her parents and canceled the trip, telling her parents that she would be camping a few days in Arizona before returning to sorry, can't my lipstick does that. Ocean Beach. She was from Ocean Beach, and she said, "I just don't think I can do this by myself." Mm, and she right. Okay, this tracks. Alright. I still don't have a birthday for her, but okay. And I'm gonna show her picture here. Let's see. Okay. Ah, that's not the right one, that's an ad. Alright, there she is. Can you see that? There she is. Yeah. So that's her picture. I like to have a picture, to focus on. So she just went missing really this September, no, latter September. And I'm just gonna see what I get on her. I'm just gonna ask the Most High to guide me in reading my cards, and I'm gonna try this other deck as well. I'm gonna try both of them. Oh, my shuffling's gone nuts. Okay. So after I read on Chelsea, I'll be signing off, but I wanna thank each and every one of you that's joined me, or if you're just coming in, thank you so much. And just to make sure that well, if you're not subscribed, you wouldn't be able to join this, live. So you have to be I set it for 20 minutes, like, for subscribers only. Make sure that you check from time to time if you don't see anything from me, because I do try to keep up with posting comments in my, um, post list, but sometimes people find themselves unsubscribed. And do smash that like button if you would. Thank you. So let's take a look at Chelsea Grim. What do we need to know? Unfortunately, I don't get a great feeling, but that could just be my mom, energy. And let's just hope the most beneficent outcome for her, benevolent outcome for her. All right, what do we need to know about Chelsea Grim? What went missing? And it seems like she was still in Arizona yet. Will she be found? Will she be found? Okay, there we go. I'll start with the Rider-Waite. Getting the 9 of Wands. Now, this is interesting because the 9 of Wands, it shows a person with a bandaged head, and that bandaged head can mean literal, uh, injury, but it can also be about incurring some kind of, mental issue. It can touch into that, and being on the defense side. Okay, what else do I get for the 8? That's interesting. I get the 8 and the 9. So I wonder, is this the accident? There's like a sense of maybe she had a bit of an injury, or maybe she just mentally, and she had much as admitted that she wasn't ready to do this on her own. So this makes sense, unfortunately, in the way that I don't think, unfortunately, Chelsea was feeling very grounded, feeling very connected. It looks like there is movement. So something in her car, she had the 2 flat tires, she doesn't stay put. She walks. She leaves the car, and we get next the Ace of Pentacles and the Page of Wands. I think she's looking for a shop or a place, maybe a gas station, um, that she can get the repairs or whatever it needs, the help. needed. And I feel like this is her walking towards that. And also businesses with that Ace of Pentacles card, you know? I have no idea out where she was, you know, where the car was found. I have no idea. I'll have to look at that again. I kinda limit, the amount of information I get. There's certain bits and pieces that I do think are helpful for context-wise with what I'm seeing, but, others I'll have to check. Here we have the 2 of Wands. This is trying to make some kind of plans, trying to foresee with the 2 of Wands energy. And a plan, again, the Pentacles, the 7 of Pentacles. So it looks to me like she's trying to think ahead, maybe like where she's gonna stay or where she's gonna camp, what she's gonna do, um, well, really, what she's gonna do to get that car back. Duh. And perhaps the money to pay for it, whatever. But she's already thinking ahead to that. Thank you if you're just joining me. Be sure to smash that like button if you would, please. We're looking at the case of Chelsea Grim. Let me just put that up on can I put that up on my screen? I forgot. I can do that now. Yeah, of course I can. It's my channel. Let's see, Chelsea Grim case. Okay, there we go. So I can hide that one. Oh, no, where did that one there? Oh, I forgot to add it. Forgive me, I'm a bit rusty. So again, we're looking at the Chelsea Grim case at this point. The first one we covered was Opal Folks, who was another missing person, but she was missing from 1931. Fascinating cards that came up for her. Okay, here we go. So here we are, Chelsea Grim. I like to have it like that. So it looks like she was at some point, making some future plans how to fix the situation. I'm sure that she was in with the car with the damaged tires, 2 flat tires. And it looks like she's going toward, as I said, businesses. And I get the feeling of her being staying on the roadway, walking along the side. I don't think she just wandered off, into the bush or whatever. Ugh. She is feeling the heaviness of the situation with the 10 of Wands, especially and that makes sense with what she said of, "I don't feel like I can do this on my own." It's a feeling of being overwhelmed, but trying, still trying to do what she needed to do. And I think whatever she took with her, not only was a literal weight, but I think she definitely had, a lot on her mind. And definitely with the vehicle then breaking down, that would have no doubt made things feel even more intense. But she's still trying to, I feel like, with the magician, trying to manifest, trying to also perhaps I'm sorry, excuse me, trying to not participate, communicate, probably trying to reach someone. Maybe she didn't have a signal. That could be. Alright. Again, Chelsea Grim. Yeah, there's some kind of sense of obstruction or a block where home and family are concerned, or that she can't contact. people at home. It may also be that she just needed and was wanting to try and get her head together, and I do get that vibe very much with this 2 of swords actually here of, like, her saying, "Well, I just wanna go to a place to camp for a few days and then head back home." So, it's showing where her mind is at, but it shows to me like she's feeling like she can't get back home, okay? And with that feeling of not being able to get back home, we have the Hanged Man, and there is the King of Wands. So, the Hanged Man is a suspension, is delay, and certainly with the car with 2 flat tires, she's, n not immobile except for her own legs walking. So but now we're getting a King of Wands, and I'm feeling this is someone that comes upon her, maybe driving, obviously. I don't know that she's made it to a shop or a store or anything. I feel like this is somebody that's seen on the road, a man, adult male. So that means somebody over the age 21 and over, and wands would indicate somebody that's it can at least use charm, but they can also have a tendency toward being hot-headed. This could also be someone actually holding her with that suspended card, potentially. Let's just see that there's some kind of delay or having a different perspective toward a male here, adult male. Ah, mm, okay. This is someone's very stubborn, and this is also that does work. Maybe this is a mechanic or something along those lines, or they're just talking about it. This person's also just, no matter what, very determined to get what they want, and I'm sure Chelsea herself was very determined. Um, interesting, we are getting the card of justice. Uh, is this a patrol person? I don't know. Or is this just that justice is on its way, but it's gonna take its time? Because this is the slowest card in the deck. It looks to me like we're getting a message of that there was a crime, to be honest. When I pull these kind of cards, especially justice, it indicates to me, especially when I'm looking at a case where there is a possibility of foul play, this looks like foul play and something that's legally gonna stick, but it's gonna be slow coming. Again, the Knight of Pentacles is the slowest knight in the deck, but also the most careful and level. Things have to be, you know, perfect. So that is interesting. That's making me think that they could possibly end up with a person of interest at some point. Just with these 2 cards. Let's see what we get out. We're getting the Chariot. This could be a vehicle, and this is also I feel like, for some reason, I feel like a truck. Nah, anyway, that's really neither here nor there. I'll just put it out there. I could be off. And the Fool. So we get the Chariot and the Fool. It's interesting with the Fool that we have the small dog down here, a person and their pet off on an adventure, with their rucksack, and they're on this new adventure, but they don't realize the risk that they're actually immediately in. Maybe the bearded dragon or the dog senses it before the Chelsea, but it looks like there's some risk. and the risk of being on the highway, the risks of the people that you come across there, that's the feeling. Also, the risks of being potentially hit by a distracted driver or God knows what else. But it's showing me I don't like that I'm being shown, like I said, justice prior to this, and then a card of showing somebody that's actually very vulnerable, and that is on an adventure. It tracks with her situation and vehicles and trying to get movement and accomplishment. Was she picked up? Did somebody offer her a lift? It feels like it to me, like an adult man, the King of Wands that I pulled earlier. Okay, I'm gonna keep going till I am satisfied with this, but I'm not gonna do any other cases after this, and I'll just sign off and try and be a good patient. Already busted my stitches. Not good. So, we're getting the Queen of Pentacles, and we're getting the High Priestess. This is something that is hidden, that is secreted, and we're getting a feminine card. I don't know, is this, representing Chelsea or not? Maybe, but there's something hidden in the secrets. It could even be the location that she's at or wherever she's ended up, but it's also showing that, okay, she's off looking for help. The cards pick up her having to go toward businesses or look for help, and we get a adult male card. There's something hidden about him, though, where women are concerned, or maybe this is Chelsea, I'm not sure. Let's see what else comes up. We get the 3 of Wands. There's fantasy. This is fantasy and also possibilities. Okay, I just got a hit of them searching for her, is like looking for like a needle in a haystack. But I sense people are going to try and use their dreams or intuition, perhaps in searching for her or looking in more unusual places and not limiting just one location, whatever. I think there's gonna be people trying to do this in a more varied fashion, potentially, because this is looking forward. Hmm, okay, we have the 9 of Cups and the 6 of Wands. Well, there's some identification of someone as, being successful at something. Somebody's recognized. So this could be finding her because that would certainly be a wish come true, but this could also be somebody that she was with getting away with their fantasy. That's my concern. Always, you gotta keep yeah, okay, I don't like this at all. Plus, okay, here we have the Queen of Cups and we have the Devil. This is an oppressive situation. There may have been temptation. There may have even been substances with that 7 of Cups card back there. There could have been someone that stopped for her but that has access to these things, or just they are trouble, they're tempted to do something inappropriate and act oppressive or abuse their power. And I feel this card with the Queen of Cups, I feel like that is Chelsea because she was in a very emotional state and in her feelings. So I feel like she unfortunately comes across something that isn't good or someone that isn't. And I think it's that King of Wands, an adult male. Then I'm shown the King of Swords in the past, memory. There might be something that reminds her of someone else, this individual. Maybe that's why she gets in the car with them. I don't know. I mean, she had just broken up with her boyfriend. She was very upset about it, and she was afraid of him. What are the chances? Did she ever get hold of him? I don't know. I don't think so. This is someone from her past and a nostalgia. This is not good. I think she sees her situation after she comes across this person that declines with the 5 of Pentacles, and she's very worried, very anxious, and this would indicate trouble sleeping, um, not being in a good place, not feeling that they have a place that is safe and that they need help, but they're not quite sure in their environment how to necessarily go about it. Might be difficult for them. You also notice that both cards are dark. I think that not only is her situation worrisome to her, but I believe that it happened at night. I feel like we're getting a message that by this point, she's in a fearful position and in a one where she physically is and mentally is not in good shape. The world, oh, I don't like this at all, you guys. And the 10 of swords. Well, I mean, perhaps the ending of the relationship that was very painful. I forgot to turn back on my comments to look, but this could also be to me like the end of her life. And the one thing could be is that she could be found at some point. It could also indicate that she would be found, but not the way one might wish. Because I think, honestly, by now she would have contacted her parents and let them know, "Hey, don't worry, I got a lift by someone and da da da." And that's not happened. Oh, hi, Gathina. Thank you. Hi, Cecile. This doesn't look good. Both cards are ending cards. Normally, I might feel a bit differently, but this just makes me feel also that she could be found. And I unfortunately don't like the devil that I got earlier, and this it looks like somebody was tempted to do something to her, take advantage of her. I think there is hope for her to be found, but yeah, the moon and the 10 of pentacles, uh, But this is the uncertainty of family and fear, because they don't know what's happened to her. But I think that she could be found. I think she has met with an end of some sort, and I feel like it's connected to it looks like just one, like a single adult male, the King of Wands came up in there. And I do feel that in the further ahead in the future, she'll be found. Let me just pull a couple more cards from this deck, and I'll look into the other deck, and then I'll end the live. All right, here we have the 3 of Pentacles, which usually is more than one person. To me, this could be people that are trying to look for her, potentially. Hopefully, it's that and not people that might be responsible for her end. Let's see. I feel like this is people working together to try and find her. And especially since I was shown the card of the 10 of swords and the world, it makes me feel like eventually she's gonna be found by more maybe than one person. Might be a couple of people that are out to do something together or who are actually searching for her, but they have a common commitment of some kind that they're physically actively pursuing with a great deal of gusto and energy with that Knight of Wands. All right. I'm tending to think that it's showing or being found eventually. Yeah. We get the Hermit, the Ace of Cups. It might be a more remote area, and it could be near a water feature. This can also indicate maybe that somebody that's hiking might, come across or hunting, somebody that's out walking, whatever. I tend to think they might find her, and it could be near water or near a water feature. If not, it could just be that this Ace of Cups is their emotion and what they discover. You can see that the Hermit has their lantern. So this is searching. Uh, yeah, I don't think that she's still with us here. All right, now I'm just going to use my clarification deck very quickly and see what it says. And I really want to thank all of you for joining me tonight. Um, if you missed the first half, you can certainly go back and replay it. And it's a very, I think, interesting case on another missing person. All right. What do we need to know? Will Chelsea Grimm be found? When will Chelsea? No, when is never the best question to ask. Let's just say, is Chelsea Grimm going to be found in the near future? It kind of looks like it to me, but sometimes timing, that whole time thing, can be off. But just the way the cards were, I think it's ahead of us, but not really, really far ahead. I mean, it could be a year, maybe. It could be a handful of months. You just, don't always know. But it didn't feel like a long time. Okay. All right, let's see. We're getting soul growth, transcendence, spiritual advancement, evolution, and temptation. We had the devil with the Rider-Waite deck. Drawn, attraction, curiosity. So we're getting spiritual advancement, an older soul encountering, I think, a younger one. And there's temptation. Distractions. Now this is interesting. Look at the roadway. There's and she was off of a dirt road. This shows a highway. And it says detour, sidetracked, off course. That's where I think she's at. When I get the hermit and they're searching, to me, it's a remote place. So it's kind of off the quote unquote beaten track. And this card actually says off track. So I think wherever she's at, it might be off of a main highway, but with a tendency toward being more remote. All right. Interconnected, this card says. Mirroring, reflecting each other, shared energies. Hmm. Well, could it be that there's some kind of reflection actually that catches someone's attention? I'm not sure. But the interesting thing with these 2 cards is that there's a feeling of, kind of being parallel or interconnected is a good choice of words that maybe that run parallel. Maybe there's an offshoot road from a main highway that she'll be found on. Kinda seems like there's a certain feature to it, and I just may not be very good at putting together what it is. Hopeless romantic, unrealistic ideas. This is somebody that's full of fantasy. And we had that earlier that I thought was possible with the 7 of Cups. So that energy is coming back again, but this time in a different deck with illusions and unrealistic ideals. I think somebody that has trouble with, you know, relationships. Interconnected. There is stillness, silence, inaction, idle, next to the fantasy. So, that stillness being a fantasy, take from that what you will. The silence, somebody or something not being able to move or make noise, and that being next to a fantasy card is yeah. Anxiety, confusion over analyzing, lacking clarity, and highly, admiration, highly valued, worshipped, and awe. So there's confusion. This person may have acted in a way that she found confusing. She may have thought that they, were getting along, or for all I know, this person, I feel like, picked her up. She may have felt like they established some kind of a rapport, or that this person strikes her perhaps as somebody that would have more respect. Uh, I'm not sure, but it feels like there's an anxiety to do with that over values, and in particularly that it's a woman's figure. To me, it's like this person's perspective on it is in question. Oh, this is the deck I was definitely using on, Opal's reading. Mixed signals. Now here we're shown a male and a female shadow overlapping, and it says, "Confusion, inconsistency, wishy-washy." Remember we got that really, again, fantasy-like energy? Was this person just mentally altered? Or I think definitely yes, but whether or not it was, you know, pushed up a notch with some substance on board, that's also a possibility. I think they show one face, though, to her, which is confusing because they might seem like they're real nice, and then boom, they flip the script, and I think she's in shock and confusion, but I also think this testifies to a male's, fantasy ideal and acting on it. I get longing, pining, yearning. Definitely like a predator type of a feeling, hopeless card, victimized, giving up, despair. Uh-uh. I think she really wanted out of the situation. I think she got into a situation with somebody that she realized pretty quickly was not a good person. The next 2 cards are, divine plan, divine timing. That's the card of fate and the card of obstacles, trials and challenges, long journey. Well, it could be a while before she's found. The long journey, she was on a journey that was long, over 2,800 miles, but it's was in, I think, Arizona last that is known, and I think that's what wherever that car was dropped off at dirt road, I think that was the last place she was, and so I tend to think that she disappeared somewhere on the roadway, and maybe somebody drove the car, even with flat tires, you can drive it, and it's feels horrible. Um, you can drive it and may have driven her car onto the dirt. I mean, they'll find out, but I don't think that they would have necessarily locked it up and all that. She had her stuff. Maybe she got confused or lost because there is a lot of cards of confusion here, but regardless, I unfortunately do feel that something, happened with an adult male, and there's obstacles, and that when she's found, it's really on God's time, and that there's going to this is no pushing the river, in other words. I'm getting a card of masculine energy, the real macho card, okay? And it says yang, logical, active, okay? And the card of scarred, burned, mm, betrayed, screwed over. So that's telling me that there is, I think, a pretty strong masculine type of energy here that's responsible for what has happened to her, and hopefully it's nothing to do with the first bit that I read about. But there's gonna be some challenges in finding her, I believe, but I believe that she is going to be found, and that's down to a man, and that took advantage of her. Okay, guys, if you appreciate this kinda content and the mysteries, it's not always on missing people. Although I do feel more satisfaction in some ways, when I do those readings. I would, appreciate a big thumbs up smash that like button, share, and if you haven't, uh, make sure that you're subscribed. It's free, and and then when you put that thumbs up for me, it boosts me into the algorithm, so my shrinking channel can get a bit more recommendation. And I wanna thank you. I've really enjoyed this, and thank you all for showing up. It means the world, and if you couldn't make it, don't worry. I will try to do this again as soon as I can. My energy is so unpredictable. I don't always know when I'm going to have that, when I'm gonna be falling asleep with my mouth open, drooling. But anyway, thank you, and thank you also for your prayers and, everything. I appreciate it. Mwah. Take care. I pray for you guys. Have a great holiday, and I'll try to make sure I get some more readings out before Christmas. All right. Okay, guys. Take care. It was really good to gather with you here. Mwah. Bye. Good night.